Hello again, Michael Friedrich here from beautiful North Carolina, and indeed today I have 3 different products to review: a new soap, a new razor, and a new aftershave. Let's start with the soap first. This is from the Nordic Shaving Company, and this is their pine tar soap. This actually is a reformulation, kind of a resurrection of a brand that was called Razor Master. I've used one of their soaps before called the Ula, which was the coffee scented soap. They sent me 4 different soaps for review. I picked one at random, and it was the pine tar soap. The others are citrus and ginger, birch, and then the coffee. And the coffee does smell exactly like the previous version, which was a beautiful coffee scent. The pine tar is, as you can see, quite a dark soap. It is a very soft, easily malleable soap. I've simply scooped out enough for the week into my Captain's Choice loading bowl. This has a very strong pine tar, slightly medicinal, very smoky scent. If you like something like Sterling's Texas on Fire, I believe that's the name of it, which has another very strong smoky smell, or you really enjoy the smell of pine tar, this would be up your alley. If you don't like a strongly scented soap, or you don't like the scent of pine tar or anything that has a bit of a medicinal angle to it, I would not choose this scent. I would choose one of the other 3. The coffee smells great. The ginger and citrus smells fantastic. The birch is a kind of a light woodsy scent. This one I just picked at random, so that's what I've gone for this week. I have a significant amount of that scooped out. I have been cheating myself in weeks past because what I've been doing is simply scooping just enough to make it through the week, and that means underloading in some cases. So I'm going to skip that. I'm going to be putting too much soap into the loading bowl simply because, well, why am I cheating myself out of a good lather? Okay, today's razor, and we'll talk a bit about the history of the soap when we get into the shave, but today's razor is a really interesting razor I received from Yaki. I received a shipment of, I thought they were joking when they said 8, but they weren't kidding, 8 different razors. There are some with a similar head and some different handles, but there's a couple different unique styles in there, and today's shave had to be with the slant that they sent. So this is a really intriguing slant design. I'm going to show you the top cap. The top cap, as you can see, is an open comb. It has the end tabs are entirely covered, so when you put the blade inside this top cap, the end tabs of the blade are entirely covered. I'm using a super iridium. The base plate is a solid safety bar, so this is kind of a mixed bar razor. It is a slant razor with a relatively mild angle as well as torque. It's not a severe angle, not a really deeply twisted blade. I'm going to go ahead and just put that together, and I'll show you what the head looks like in terms of blade exposure. I'm using one of the handles from one of the other razors that they sent. This is a brass handle with this wonderful blue, really well knurled middle section. Very nice weight to it, really excellent length. I mean, just for me, standout handle, really works well. I'm going to include in there, as always, the washer, as you can see. Alright, so now if you can take a look at the top cap there, you can see open comb top cap, solid bar, safety bar at the bottom. You can probably see there's a significant amount of blade exposure. I'm going to try to hold that in a way so you can sort of see. It might be hard to see, but there is a very pronounced positive blade exposure. And that means that the blade extends beyond the natural line that is formed between the top cap and the base plate. Now, of course, this is a slant, so that line kind of forms an angle, but there's a natural line that forms between the top cap and the base plate, and the blade extends beyond that. So that is positive exposure. The other thing is that the blade is held relatively flat. So even though it is a slant razor, the blade itself is relatively flat in the head, and that combined with the amount of blade exposure makes this a much more efficient and comfortable razor, and we'll talk about that during the shave. Let me get my face wet again, start lathering up the soap, talk a bit about the history of the soap. So I have used Razor Master soap before. It was the Ula soap. As I said, the coffee scent is fantastic, really deep, rich coffee scent. This is a rebranding of that brand, or kind of a resurrection, because apparently there's been some issue with the original brand, some kind of legal shenanigans going on now, where I believe that somebody else has somehow taken possession of that previous brand and the soap recipes, and so the people that used to own Razor Master have had to basically start over again. I hope it ends well for them. It's really quite an enjoyable soap. It's an artisan soap out of Finland. It is a vegan soap unless the glycerin that's included is from a animal source, which is possible. All right, I'm just loading my brush. Today I'm using the Steve Bento, the Bloodwood and Lapis Lazuli custom brush, Badger Knot. I'm going to add a little bit more water. No issues building a lather with this soap. It is, compared to many others, a very simple vegan recipe, but as you know from things like Liushen and others, that simple doesn't always mean poor. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You can see that's starting to build up a very nice lather in there. I'm going to add a little more water and continue to work that. There we go. I'm going to pull out all the lather that has formed on the sides, or as much of it as I can. Wet my face again, add a bit of water to the brush. Interesting discussion on Reddit, where a person posting about how to improve their lathers, and you know, the advice is almost inevitably that if you look at pictures of people who have posted a shaving brush with this big dollop of lather on there, that lather looks great, but that isn't good lather. That lather is generally too dry, too dense and pasty. It looks great on a brush. But as I've said many, many times before, more water, more water. A lot of these soaps can take way more water than you think. You want to get to the point where you have a bit of a shine or a sleek look to the soap. The brush should feel like it's moving smoothly over your skin. I'm going to add a touch more water to that, but remove it before I eat it. There we go. That's got a nice loose feel to it. Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but somebody commented on the, I think it was the palm olive shaving stick face lathering video I did, seems like many, many years ago. Again, adding more and more water, because you can continue to add water. It's actually, you'll know before the soap really breaks down, you get kind of a sloppy mess. You can usually add a lot more water than you might expect. Okay, this, I'm going to go say right off the outset, is not a razor for new wet shavers. This really, I think, is one I can honestly say hand on heart for more experienced wet shavers, and it's very simple why. Even though it is a slant, and many slants, I find them generally very comfortable, this is 100% designed for efficiency. It is significant blade exposure. The blade edge, because of the head geometry, is not really as rigidly fixed as it could be. So what you get is what I call blade chatter, where the edge doesn't feel like it's really being held quite rigidly. And you can really feel the blade on your skin. Not in an unpleasant way, but you can definitely feel it. And I found, at least for this razor, riding the safety bar rather than riding the top cap is more comfortable. I did do a quick search on the AliExpress site for Yaki, and I don't remember seeing this razor or this head for sale. First pass done. Yeah, the razor is very, very efficient. The smell on the soap, by the way, is quite strong out of the container as well as when lathered, and absolutely persists with the shave. So if you like that kind of pine tar scent, you should definitely check this out. I will say that the container choice, the container is quite small, at least the opening I think is kind of small. So if you're trying to lather inside there, you may find in fact that you're struggling a little bit. I'd recommend scooping some out into a more shallow, kind of a wide, shallow dish like the loading bowl. It just makes the life a lot easier. There's really no reason to struggle, and you could absolutely just leave it open, you know, for the time that you're using it. Yeah, in terms of the things that I do to sort of take care of the soap, like I never cover the loading bowl during the week. I just leave the soap out to dry. I've never really had an issue with that at all. And there was another person who asked on the channel about what I do to manage or take care of the razor blade between shaves. And I'm happy to tell you that my process is quite complex, but I think that really anybody can follow it. I do nothing with the blade in between shaves. I rinse the razor and gently dry it and put it away. I don't take the blade out until it's time to change it. I know there's people that like to take it out and really clean it and dry it off with alcohol and try to reduce the amount of sort of water damage that might be occurring. I know others, and I think in fact it may have been, maybe Danny von Rooyen used to do this, would keep his blade in a submerged in oil. See, right there is where you got to be careful. This is not a razor that you're going to use for buffing. At least not for me. Really watch the pressure and just light. You need a good lather and light touch. Any kind of blemish on your face, likely going to take off just enough skin for a drop of blood to appear. Careful and don't overshave with this guy. I think if you have a tendency to overshave anyway, you're going to regret it. There we go, pass number 2. Across the grain, done. I've had a tiny little spot, like just not even really a weeper, just some spot where obviously I've just shaved a little too close. And these kind of razors for me, I don't really find them that comfortable. And this is where I think Michael Ham, or Leisure Guy, really has it right for the way to describe these razors. Mild and aggressive, I don't know. I understand why people use those terms. And given that scale, this would 100% be on the aggressive side. I really like the scale where you're kind of comparing comfort and efficiency, because you can find a balance between those two, where a razor can be both comfortable and efficient at the right level. This is a razor where I think, like the R41, you are well into the efficiency side and lower on the comfort side. And if I was going to recommend any particular change to Yaki, and I will definitely provide this feedback anyway because we share impressions, of course. What I would do with that razor head is I would change the internal geometry of the razor head so that the top cap and the base plate force the blade into a greater curve and gain a bit more control over the blade edge. Maybe keep the blade exposure as it is, or experiment with reducing the blade exposure just a touch and curving the blade a little bit more. And I think what you would lose in terms of efficiency would be pretty minimal. I think what you would gain in comfort would be substantial. So you might end up having a more balanced razor that might be a bit more accessible to more people. All right, third and final pass, gentle and careful. Yeah, very impressed with the closeness of these shaves. but I would definitely prefer it to be a bit more comfortable. That right there is where I feel like that's just too much blade. Very easy to get a little bit too aggressive right there, where the hair is the densest. Very easy to just draw a little bit of blood. And it's not even that you're nicking yourself, you're just getting so close. That just a little bit of blood comes to the surface, which I'm sure all of you experience. It's no big deal. All right, let's rinse off. As you can see, very, very nice results. Easy, light touch, careful watching the pressure, go slow, don't rush with that razor. All right, now let's talk about post-shave, because what I mentioned last week was a certain squeakiness, and that often is a bad sign. Like if it's already squeaky clean, a lot of the oil's been stripped from your skin, that generally means you're going to have a bit of dryness, tightness after the fact. But the soap does include shea butter. Not sure what the ratio is for the ingredients, but I just left it as it was on Monday, and I have to say, actually, despite what feels like an initial dryness or tightness, actually was perfectly fine without any aftershave. My skin did not feel really dry or tight after the expected 15 minutes or so, and actually during the course of the day, felt just fine. So in terms of post-shave tightness of the skin, in this case, a little deceptive, because actually that soap provides a nice little post-shave touch. Not to the same extent as many of the other really kind of butter or fat, rich, heavy tallow-based soaps, but absolutely fine. No issues there. All right, now, one last product. This, as I'm sure you can all see from the label, is the Liushen Flora Water. In case you don't believe me, you can read it here in English. For those of you that can't read Chinese, and shame on you. This is a Chinese Flora water, or a Florida water. There's a couple things to note about this. Number one, this is a big alcohol hit. Basically, the first ingredient is alcohol. Menthol is very high up in there. It does have some bark extracts in there. It has honeysuckle flower extract in there, and this is definitely a floral scent. The honeysuckle really comes out, which I'll talk about in just a moment. I do have to point out, though, that it has snake gall extract. So if you're looking for a vegan product and products that contain no animal products or animal byproducts, this is 100% not for you. So with that said, just forewarned is forearmed. This says, by the way, I think it recommends not for use by pregnant women, so I'm okay in that regard. Dilute 5:1 for children, still okay, going with full strength. Can be used as an insect repellent and to reduce irritated, hot, itchy skin. Also good as an aftershave. Now, it is a pretty good alcohol hit and a pretty good menthol hit. Right at the edge of a touch of eye watering. The initial scent is pretty strong and a little industrial, maybe even a little medicinal, but let it sit for a few minutes, let it dry down, and what you get actually is a very nice, a very pleasant, powdery honeysuckle floral scent. The first couple minutes, pretty strong and not great, but give it a few minutes, the dry down happens and begins to just loosen up a little bit, actually that scent turns out to be really quite pleasant. A very nice lingering menthol feel, very nice and cooling. You can apparently add it to your bath water. Very, very popular in China apparently since the late 90s when they brought this back on the market, brought it to the market as a Chinese version of Flora Water. All right. And by the way, Jacob, you know who you are. Thank you so much for saying that, along with Dr. Selby. Both quite unexpected, and that has been actually really fun to use. All right, let's run through these products again, lickety-split, with this shave being over. Not bad. Really not bad. That is every bit of hair gone, by the way. Very, very close to BBS shaves all week, but you have to really take care when using that razor. All right, for today, this is the Nordic Shaving, the return of what was once known as the Razor Master line of soaps. This is the pine tar version, very strongly scented, strong smoky scent to it. If you like kind of the medicinal pull of pine tar, you like a strong smoky scent, go for this one. If you love the scent of coffee, go for the coffee one. I have not really used the citrus and ginger, but it has a nice light scent to it, and the birch I think is the lightest scent of the bunch. Very nice shaving soap, easy to use, easy to lather, great slide, good protection, surprisingly good post-shave given the immediate feel of your skin when you rinse it. Still recommend it, and I wish those guys best of luck with their brand recovery. Today's razor is, as you well know, because you probably watched the whole video, maybe on fast forward, I don't know, is this Yaqi mixed comb slant bar razor. Open comb top, solid bar for the base plate, torqued and angled for the slant portion. This design where the top cap is longer than the base plate is really clever and really well done, and it entirely encapsulates the blade ends, which I personally am a big fan of. Very, in terms of the scale, very efficient, less comfortable razor, a fair amount of blade edge chatter, I feel. I think that there's definitely some improvements to be made for the design if you were looking for a more comfortable shave, but if you want straight efficient, which is just takes it off, you don't really care so much about the comfort side of it, or you really enjoy that kind of face feel for the blade, I would 100% try getting this. I'm not sure if this is available on their website or not. I think this handle's fantastic, by the way. I love the color combination. The knurling is great. It's a great weight. I believe it's a brass handle with chrome pieces, and there's knurling. Handle's fantastic. Okay, let's talk about the last of the three things for today, the Liushen Flora Water. Big alcohol hit, big menthol hit, a lovely powdery honeysuckle scent after the fact with a bit of a medicinal hit up front. People in China, apparently this is a very, very popular product. I would have not even known to look for this. So thank you once again, Jacob, for sending that through. Really enjoyed using that this week, especially because it's been quite hot here. So that's been a welcome relief during the course of the week. Let's not forget, of course, our dear friend, Custom Brush, this first shaving brush that Steve Bento ever made. Bloodwood with the lapis lazuli inlay. Absolutely gorgeous brush, fantastic knot. Just, yeah, all around, it's a great surprise, and still fantastic to use. Well, wow, I think that's it. Not too shabby. Well, as always, thank you again so much for watching. I really appreciate the time you're taking to watch these videos. As always, please keep the comments and questions coming. You can post against this video or any previous video. I think I'm all caught up, but of course, keep the questions and comments coming, and I'll try to get to those as quickly as I can. Thank you again so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.